good afternoon here, and we're going live today with a judo legend. I've got in the studio with me Brian Jacks, a celebrated name and a UK legend. And what we're going to be talking about is Brian's career, a very colourful career that you've had, Brian, as well. First of all, thank you very much for coming into the studio. Brian is a celebrated judoka and a world champion as well. But enough from me. What we'll do is we'll launch straight into the show. So thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Well, gracing us with your presence.
Absolute pleasure. Especially because I lived just around the corner.
You did?
When I was a child and I was born there, and it's all in my book. So.
And we're reminiscent about that as we were walking over, Brian. So we're based in Shadwell, for everybody who knows about us. And you were born and brought up in Cable Street, which is literally a stone's throw.
Yeah, just around the corner, yeah.
So what are your memories of this locality? It's changed a lot now, hasn't it?
Oh, it's changed a hell of a lot, but I don't know. I mean, I had fond memories. I remember, and I've got one little section in the book. I was going to school on a bus. I was only 6 years old. In those days, you could go to school on, on the bus on your own, and I found £5 note on the floor. So I picked it up, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I gave it to my dad when I got home, and he took me straight to the police station, and I handed it to the police station, and 1 month later, I got the £5 back. So I bought a pair of shoes there.
So you bought yourself a pair of shoes. Great story there as well. So you as a judoka, you won Britain's first medal at a world championship, but I want to go beyond that. I want to go back to, say, your youth. So your earliest childhood memories, you've talked about a little bit about growing up in a nice locality, but it was tough, very working class community like this as well. What influenced you to take up judo?
Well, really it was my father. He's a London taxi driver, and he's a keen sportsman. He boxed at school. His father, my grandfather, boxed in school and in the army, and was British Army champion, or combined forces champion, in fact, in boxing. And Dad was a bit worried about getting mugged in the taxi because he was driving a London taxi. He wanted to keep fit and he wanted to lose weight, and he found that he could do all three of those in judo. And he loves a bargain, so he took up judo.
So he took up judo. And
then introduced me to it, yeah.
And how did that introduction come around?
Well, initially I didn't know he was doing judo at all. I had no idea. And he came home after having done it for about 9 months and said that he wanted to take the family, that's my sister, my mum and myself, to the Chelsea Town Hall where he was competing for the London Taxi Drivers Judo Association against the Metropolitan Police. So I went along as a little 8-year-old and sat in this big theatre and watched Dad on the stage. Coming up there was 10 taxi drivers and 10 big policemen. And he was the first on, believe it or not.
Okay.
And the policeman was at least 4 or 5 inches up. Then, I thought he was a giant compared to my dad. And he came out, they bowed, as we do in judo, and took hold. The referee said begin. They took about 4 steps across the mat, and my dad swept his feet away. He went down on the floor, and the referee called Ippon. I didn't know what that meant. It meant the contest was a kind of a knockout. It was all over in 3 or 4 seconds. And
that was that?
That was it. That was the whole thing.
He didn't even break sweat, right?
No, he didn't break sweat.
So that was your first experience of judo?
And then guess what? He won a little trophy about this big, about as big as a telephone. And the trophy was given. The taxi drivers lost, and the police won. But however, they all got a little trophy, and he gave me the trophy, and I just thought I'd like to win loads of these, and that was it, I think.
So that was a spark for you as a youngster.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of successful sports people like yourselves, it usually stems from an influence from someone like a parent, a close school teacher, for example, or somebody they've witnessed at first hand as well. And
exactly.
It seems to be that your father, he fulfilled quite a few roles in that regard as well. So
he
was not,
Yeah, he was. He was quite. He was a strong character, but he loved sport, and obviously he was very happy and pleased that I did it, especially because before I took up judo, I did have a very bad problem with this hiatus hernias that I had on my stomach. I had one operated on and then it came back again, and you know, that was a bad start for me, but however we got through that, and the rest is history.
So Brian, did you start training with your dad, or did you join youth clubs? Or
No, my dad took me along to the judo club, and at that particular time, this was like 1955, I think, something like that, 56. I was the, 54, I think it was. I was the only child there. It was with my dad, you know. And then my dad's friend took his child along, and then a class started, you know, a junior class. And this was at the Oval in Kennington, where the big judo club was. That was quite good fun.
And did you go once a week, twice a week? And
we did twice a week to start with, on the beginner's course, where you learn how to fall and all the rest of it, which I must admit, even now I still found that very boring. Just learning to fall was not. I wanted to get in and have a tussle.
Yes.
And we did twice a week, and we practiced mainly with the adults until a few of the parents brought their kids along, and then a children's class started, and then we got some sponsorship from Peter Sellers, and we had a Peter Sellers trophy, which
Peter Sellers.
Yeah. Wow. He sponsored the club. He did a little bit of judo, funny enough. Great. And we did the Peter Sellers trophy, and our club won that. Going on a bit from the beginning. A lot of very, very famous people have done judo. Brian Blessed. Brian Blessed wrote the introduction to my book for me, or the there's loads of very famous. Honor Blackman.
Yeah.
In the past, Tiger Joe Robinson. Some people remember him. A lot of the more recent TV stars have done judo as well. So it's great.
So here you are as a youngster. You're enjoying spending quality time with your father, training, tussling, like you said, breaking sweat, having a good old time. What makes you take the next step forward?
I don't know, it's very difficult to say. I loved sport in school, and I did boxing and got hit on the nose a couple of times and didn't really like that at all. I did, played cricket. I didn't like football, but played quite a lot of cricket, and I loved rugby. I loved the tussle of rugby. And so judo became something that was, it's great when you can grab hold of somebody, and have a real tussle, and you get that feeling that you're actually fighting. I mean, in boxing, you're kind of at a distance, you hit and you move back, and then he hits, and you're not really contacting. But in judo, it's a really great contact sport. You roll around on the floor and see who's the strongest, and I think I progressed because I loved the fighting side of it, especially the grip, the grappling on the floor when you try to get someone on his back and hold him down, and he's trying to put an arm lock on you, and you're trying to get a strangle. I thought it was wonderful.
So you moved on. You obviously progressed from where you were with your friends and members of your family. You had a good teacher to start with, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a few good teachers, but one particularly good one, and he's 84 at the moment. He's still alive. He's still alive, and he still teaches now and again.
Can you tell us a little bit more about him?
Yeah, he started judo when judo was very, very young. We're talking about 1940s, something around that area. His name's Michael Lee, Mick Lee we call. He's now, as I said, 84. He started judo, became a black belt very, very quickly. Started teaching at the London Judo Society, which was, in fact, one of the first judo clubs in London, besides the Budokai, which is the biggest. He's now a ninth dan, I think, at judo, which is one from the very, very top, which is extraordinarily good. I've written quite a bit about him in the book. He was a great motivator, and still is. it's nice that he's still around.
And do you keep in touch with your teachers?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I'm seeing Michael tomorrow night, Friday evening. A friend of mine is coming over tomorrow from Italy. His name is Angelo Parisi. He was, when my father first started teaching him at school, he was 14 years old. And at 19 he won a medal for Great Britain in the Olympics, the same Olympics as I won the medal in. He won a bronze medal. Then shortly after he met a French lady, became a French citizen, moved to France, didn't fight for Great Britain in the next Olympics because he became French. Fought for the France in the Olympics after and won a gold, a silver and a bronze medal for France.
Amazing.
So he won 4 medals in all. And I'll pick him up on Friday evening. Mick Lee, my old teacher, will be there.
So you're having a bit of a get-together?
Yeah, he's coming over for a big. This Saturday evening is a very, very important day for judo because the first ever judo club outside of Japan was in London, and it's called the Budokai. And this Saturday is the 100th anniversary of the Budokai coming to Great Britain. So there's about 300 people having a special anniversary dinner.
Dinner. Sounds amazing. During your formative years, you spent some time abroad as well, learning.
Yeah, I did, yes, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, at the age of 15, I went to Japan. I was learning to speak Japanese, learning judo, obviously. That was the main reason I went. I was 15 years old on one day when I actually arrived there. I lived there with a Japanese family on my own, just 15. Travelled from the Japanese family's house to the judo club every day and to the school where I was learning Japanese. And got beaten up in the judo hall in Japan by all these tough young Japanese people, and that's really how I was there a year and a half, and that's really how I became a mature judo player, you might say. And 6 months after I came back from Japan, I went back again for the Tokyo Olympics. So I represented Great Britain in the Tokyo Olympics as well.
So, in your mind, how important was it for you to leave your trappings and your comfort zone to go out there to a foreign country where you don't know the language, the culture, the norms there, to learn judo? It's not something that happens readily in 2018, does it?
I mean, to answer your question, I've got to tell you that at the age of 15, when I look back on it now, at the age of 15, I didn't realise what a traumatic experience it would be. And I mean traumatic in the aspect that A, you're away from your parents, B, you're not getting Japan's 9,000 miles away from here, and the food is totally different in Japan. The whole culture is totally different. And it was very traumatic. I mean, I must admit, and I've written about it in the book, that I did cry quite a bit. Because I missed home, I missed my mum, and I missed my dad. I missed the lovely food. The East End food is beautiful. But then I think once you overcome that and you start to mature, and you mature very, very much quicker than you do when you're brought up in a family, because you have to fend for yourself. Everything I did, I mean, you can imagine when I was 15, I couldn't speak Japanese, and I had to get around Tokyo. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I didn't Japanese, right? I didn't know where I was going, didn't know where I'd, come from, because I had to learn the Japanese characters. Then when you get off the tube, you have to make your way to the actual judo hall. That was very, very difficult. Everything was a, but as I say, I think you learn to get on with it. You learn to get on with your life and do it. I weren't brought up, you must do this, you must do that. I just did it on my own. So it was a great experience.
So you have the honour of being the first judoka to win a medal for England. So 1967, Salt Lake City.
That's correct. Yeah.
You created history. Can you talk us through briefly about your
Yeah,
experience? It must have been a whirlwind for you, but for the purpose of our interview and
Yeah, no, sure,
to
I
enlighten
understand.
our viewers as well.
Well, you must understand first of all that in the Tokyo Olympics in 1964, nobody outside of a Japanese person had ever won a gold medal in the World Championships. So only Japanese had ever won it. So Japanese really dominated judo up until about 1960, 68, 69. They dominated judo completely. And just to win a medal
It was amazing.
against the Japanese was an amazing thing at that particular point in time. But I was very lucky because I'd lived there, as I say, for a year and a half. I trained every day, quite hard. I got beaten to a pulp every day. You know, I mean thrown around, you know, bang on your back and get up and try to throw them and then bang, you go down again and so on. And I think, you know, that experience of living the pure judo life on the judo mat, having the experience of fighting people that are much older, much stronger, much more experienced, you learn very quickly. You know, children nowadays at from the age of 1, 2 are like sponges. They learn so much very quickly.
So it wasn't enough for you to wind up a few people, being the first non-Japanese to come win a medal as well. You had to repeat the trick in 1972 in Munich.
Yeah, that's right.
So what happened there? What went wrong?
Well, no, I won in between that. I'd won obviously the British Championships and the European Championships. But I just love doing judo, and I think that the experience of being thrown into a world of completely different culture from what I was used to at the age of 15 in Japan. I think being thrown into that world and having to get on with it yourself, it gives you a lot of inner confidence. You know, you think, well, you know, I'm here. I'm going to do my best, you know, because I know I can do it. Because if I can find my way around Tokyo with, you know, with all these Japanese writing everywhere, and if I can get on with eating Japanese food and, you know, mixing with it, it's something you learn to get on with and do, you know. And I think that helped me to win medals a lot, because I was very much more determined, very, very much more independent, and I knew what I wanted and where I was going, you know.
So fast forward a few years now as well, and even now, I would say, you are hugely successful on BBC Superstars. For anybody who's watching now, and I've got a lot of viewers who will be able to reminisce and remember Superstars. It was compulsory viewing for a great program. And, you know, you're an
There's
iconic
some pictures
superstar.
of it on the back here.
On the back here as well. So there's pictures on the back of this as well, of
John
Brian's,
Conte and
all these people who took part on there as well. And you talk about that in your book as well, don't you?
yes, yeah, very much so, yeah.
So, how did you get onto Superstars?
Well, I was. It's a bit of an involved story, but I was coming to the end of my judo career, and I started to think to myself, well, what am I going to do when I stop doing? Do I really want to teach judo? Do I really want to coach every day? And I didn't really want to do that. And as I was coming to the end of the career, I thought the best thing to do is to do the thing I like best, and that's I love teaching. I like passing on knowledge, so I decided to go into college. I did my 3 years at college, came out, got a job in a school, and then I'd only been in the school for a little period of time. It was the Wilderness School in Sevenoaks, and I got this advert for a lecturer, Scale 1, in a university or college of further education. So I decided I'd have a go at that. What happened was I phoned the college up, the guy answered, and I thought, I know this. It turned out to be my teacher at school, my very, very first teacher at school, in the secondary school rather. And he was head of department in the college, so I got the job. And when I went for the job, I said to the head of department and the head of the school, I've finished competing, I'm not going to compete anymore. So they were worried about me having time off to train. And I'd just had enough of judo. And I'd only been in the school for 3 months. And I had a phone call from the BBC saying, would I like to go into the Superstars? So I said yes. And they said, well, this was a Tuesday. And they said, well, if you can be in Cwmbran on Thursday. I said, no, that's too quick a notice. Give me longer notice. So they gave me the next series, which was 7 weeks' time. And I went to the head of the department and said, look, I've been asking to this TV Superstars and the BBC Superstars, I'd like some time off for training. And he said, when you took the job, he said you'd finished with judo. I said, well, I've finished with judo, but this is a different thing. This is the Superstars, a massive TV programme. And he said, well, we're not prepared to give you any time off. So I handed my notice in, trained for 6 or 7 weeks for the Superstars, and fortunately won the British, won the Europeans a couple of times, and I'm very lucky that, I went that way because I didn't have a job.
And amazing, and you've got an amazing legacy there, Brian. Do you think something like this could be resurrected in modern day TV viewing?
The actual programme?
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't think it can. And the reason I say that is because there's so much money in sport now, being a good sportsman, in football, in athletics, in many of the sports now, boxing, that it would be too difficult to get people to compete at the top level, because obviously they don't want to get injured for the football match, they don't want to do this and so on. So, I'm not too sure if they could bring it back again now.
It'd be too difficult.
Because we did 10 different sports. We did cycling, swimming, canoeing, weightlifting. We did gym tests. We did basketball.
On the subject of gym tests, you shattered a few records, didn't you?
Yeah, quite a few.
Quite a few. I've lost count how many actually. Quite a few there as well.
And the funny thing, let me just tell you, sorry, butting in. Let me just tell you that every time you broke a record on the Superstar program, the BBC Superstars, Ferguson and Philips were two of the big sponsors, and they gave a TV set away. I had about 14 TV sets, especially with the arm dips, because I did, the first record was 47, then 53, then 68, and I kept breaking it. So.
What do you do with all these TV sets?
Well, in the end, I said to the director of Ferguson, I said, look, can't you give me a washing machine or something different? So they were very kind, and they gave me some different electrical bits.
I'm trying to imagine your home, brother. So you've got one in the landing, you've got one in the passageway,
terrible, really.
kitchen.
I was giving them away.
You're giving them away. Right. Moving on. Predator versus Brian Jacks. Tell me a little bit about that, please.
Predator?
Yeah. The Predator series. And moving on from that, so when we look at Superstars, for example, we had the creation of electronic games. So this was part of, should we say, the marketing, marketability that you held as well. Yeah. So we had Brian Jack's Superstar Challenge.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And
the Ushimata.
Yeah, Judo.
So how did that work out? Did you have any influence on the actual game, or did just someone?
No, I had a great influence on it. Obviously I didn't do all the technical stuff to get the characters together, but I actually sat with them and told them how to do it, or what I wanted done and so on. But it's funny you should mention that, because I'm really thinking now of now things have advanced so much with computer games. We're thinking now of doing some more on judo, and perhaps one about the BBC Superstars. And
I think so too, and I think that would be brilliant, because you're right. I agree with you on that, Brian. Trying to get a megastars, I think if they tried to get Brian Jacks, if you were competing now, it would be very difficult for them to get you into the BBC studios or any other studio for that fact, because you'd be all over the world because of your status, should we say, and you'd be competing here and then. You'd probably be in Abu Dhabi, and they're earning lots more money than pocket money you did back then. But the computer game idea sounds quite good. Where you could have some artistic influence and
Yeah, we've been talking about that just recently, and I think it would be a lovely idea because the program was so good, and it was so much about doing A sport, then B sport, and doing the sport as you do it in real life. And when you get 10 competitors that are good in their own sport and put them together and make them compete in different sports, it becomes a marvellous thing. And I think it would make a great computer game. I think Judo would as well, because nobody's done a Judo thing. I don't think anybody's done a wrestling one. I was just trying to think.
So Brian, some advice for young people or those who are thinking or even seeking to pursue a career in your footsteps. Why should people take up Judo?
Right, well, really, I believe, and I sincerely believe this, and I've believed it a long time, that all ladies should do Judo. All ladies should be introduced to Judo or Jiu-Jitsu, which is very similar.
Why?
Well, it's a form of self-defense, which I think is helpful in any event. I mean, it's a great thing to do. And B, just doing it, just actually being on the mat with somebody else and rolling around and trying to throw people and just pulling around, tugging around and having in a gentle aspect, not a rough aspect, gives you fantastic self-confidence.
Okay.
And I believe all school, girls at school, I mean, from the age of, say, 12, 13, 14, 15 upwards, should do some kind of self-defense and should get this feeling of pulling around with someone, because if they ever get pulled around, they'll know what to do. So I think it's a very important thing. And for boys as well, young kids, and it gives them a lot of self-confidence. If somebody attacks you, I know now that if somebody attacks me, I know they haven't got a chance. I mean, I'm not being big-headed.
Heaven forbid.
No, but I mean, I'm not being big-headed. And I don't get in fights or anything, but I know I can handle myself. I know exactly what to do, and I think that's important. Also, there is so much to learn in martial arts, like Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, Karate, which all kind of intermingle because they all come from the same era. There's so much to learn there that it's great. I mean, it gives you so much self-confidence, and I think everybody should do it. I mean, I really do. I mean, I think they should do it in schools, really.
And what are you doing with yourself now? You've got a very nice tan, I've noticed. So what are you doing with yourselves now?
Well, I live out of the country a bit of the time. I'm backwards and forwards. I live in Thailand, and my wife has a business there. We have a block of apartments. So I'm backwards and forwards all the time. And the weather's beautiful, as you know, there.
And the lifestyle.
And the lifestyle.
And I also heard a little bird tells me that you're very good friends with Mickey Pierce.
Yes.
Only Fools and Horses, Mickey Pierce.
Very, in fact, I came back from Thailand just 5 days ago with his brother, Mickey's brother. He was over there visiting us, so we came back together. He's a great friend of mine as well. But Mickey's trying to get his daughter over. I don't know if you know his wife and his daughter. At the moment, I think that he's applying for citizenship here and so on. But he stayed at our apartments for quite a while.
Good luck with that, Mickey. Do say hello to Mickey.
No, he's a lovely guy, really is. Yeah.
And lastly, Brian, we've got a fantastic book that you've written. It's titled Brian Jacks, The Mindset of a Champion. And it talks about Brian's life. Now, just looking at it, I'm not going to give away anything, but there are 578 pages in there, and it's a completely riveting read. Now, in 60 seconds, could you please sum up, Brian, what this book is about?
Well, we've talked today a little bit about my life, but it starts from a very young age of about 5 or 6, and it goes right the way through to what I'm doing currently at the moment. So the whole book is a lot about what we've talked about today, but obviously in a lot more detail. I was asked to do it by my son because he's just had my first grandchild, which is little Millie. She's a year old now, just over a year old, and he said it would be a fantastic thing for her, you know, to have the benefit of the book about a granddad, you know, because he's only got one granddad. So that was it, you know. That's what we did.
Phil was one of the catalysts in inspiring you to.
He was the inspiration, definitely, and yeah. But if anybody would like a copy, they're not in the shops yet. You can only get them through my own company, and it's www.brianjacks.co.uk, or you can get it through. How else can you get it now?
eBay.
eBay, you can get it through eBay, and one other way. Oh yeah, you can get through my own email address, brianjacks129@gmail.com.
brianjacks129@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Is that a signed copy?
Signed copy. I'll sign them all and send you a photograph as well.
Amazing. Well, it's been a complete pleasure having you here,
Fabulous.
Brian.
Thank you very much
for your presence. I mean, the team at LB24 TV Sports themselves have been quite starstruck. One or two had heard of Brian Jacks, so we had to give them a little lesson, a history lesson on who this gentleman who's coming into the studio is today as well. And I think you've just seen for yourself. In terms of myself, I was a little bit too young to watch Superstars, but as I was growing older, I watched the old episodes. And since I've met you, I had the pleasure of meeting you the last 2 years. I've obviously been doing my own research as well. And what I can say is that as a sports coach myself, I've found your example and your attention to detail and how you looked after yourself whilst you were growing up. And I've also gone through your story as well, and I've found it absolutely fascinating. So we wish you the very best of luck with everything going forward. And you're always welcome to come back on the show.
Thank you very much indeed. It's been a pleasure coming.
Viewers, thank you for watching. You can still download the show on our free LB24 TV app. You can also watch the show live on Facebook if you're on there now as well. You can catch up on the show later as well. Please, we do ask you to share the video so we can get as many views and share Brian's story with as many viewers as possible as well. And that's it from us. Thanks for watching The Sports Show.